Hi, guys.
Hello, hello.
Yeah. I don't know. Is that Mary Lou?
I don't know. She's still connecting.
Looks like we got more people coming in. Greg, a Zoom user, unknown Zoom user.
Good morning.
Hi, Mary Lou.
Yes, I don't know if that's how I'm coming in, but I'll check it.
Are you the Zoom user?
Possibly. I'll try and find out.
No, you're the
There we
iPhone.
go.
You look
I'm
like
sorry?
you look like you're the iPhone there, Mary.
That's correct.
Yep.
But I can't see the greater, what do you call, list or anything.
Are you
But
logged
that would
into the computer as well, Mary Lou?
No, I'm only using the iPhone this morning.
Okay, so could Zoom user unmute themselves and identify who they are? Because we need that for the minutes.
May I also say, my iPhone is not staying connected, so if you see my exit, that's because it's disconnecting. I'm sorry. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's not charged up enough.
Hmm.
I know.
Can you charge it while you're using it?
I thought that was what I'm doing, but it's going down already. So I don't know. Oh, I'll try another outlet. I see.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. Oh, the outlets. Oh, there it is. Okay. Okay.
Good.
Okay.
So we're expecting, maybe that's the guest,
I thought Leslie was coming.
but is there a guest? Could that be the Zoom user at this point?
Well, it could be anybody, but I don't know. who.
Maybe the Zoom user could edit their like their name in the
Right.
app. You can easily do that just by clicking on your name and changing it from Zoom user to Joe Blow.
Or if you can unmute and tell me who you are, I can do it for you.
It's Leslie. Thank you. I'm just trying to get organized here, figure it all out.
That's all right. I'll do it for you. Hi, Leslie. I'm
Oh,
glad
I
you did it.
unmuted. I just need to get my picture going here.
Yeah. Okay.
For some reason, my picture's not.
Is your video muted, so to speak?
Yeah, I guess so. Hold on. I'm working on it. There we go. Hello. There.
There you are.
In a mask.
Who
What
is
do you
that
make
masked?
of?
Who is that
I'm
masked
at-
woman?
I'm at town hall, so you
Yeah.
know, gotta wear your mask to get in. All right.
Okay.
Ooh.
So should we get started?
Yes, and thank you for calling this meeting.
Yeah. So I have an update for everybody, but I'm wondering, has everybody had a chance to review the roving archivist report from June?
Yep.
I glanced at it.
There's a lot in there to unpack, lots of very clear guidance and suggestions, which is really helpful. But I know it is there's a lot in there. So if you haven't, it would be really good, like sometime soon, take a good look at it. I got contacted by the Roving Archivist program last week. They contacted me. We have a new archivist. His name is Tom Doyle. And he's replacing Irene, who had done the initial report. And they offer ongoing support to applicants who are involved in their program after they do this initial analysis. So I didn't know that, but that's wonderful. So I asked him some questions just to get an idea of where we could start. And what I asked him for was information, if he can offer some about grants. And also examples of possible ways for organizing, coding, inventorying. If, I thought it might be, there isn't a couple examples in the report that I found very useful, but I thought, he may be able to pull something up. Oh, the other thing I asked for was where we could find a list of professional archivists. If we were to write a grant, the grant involved hiring somebody to do some of the work, where could we find a list of people in Western Mass or people in Eastern Mass? And he was going to get back to me with some names or some places to find professional archivists who do this kind of stuff on a consulting basis.
And who might be able to, if nothing else, teach us how to do it, if not do it themselves. Because if we decided to do it ourselves, we're going to need some instruction.
Right. And I think that Tom can also help us with some of that. But if we're going to do it in-house, I think we can rely on him for more guidance. He and I talked briefly about, he actually lives in Greenfield. And so he wants to come out and look at the collection himself. And so I'm going to set up a time with him for next week to go. I have the keys and I'll show him the collection. There is a round of CPA grant applications coming up in December. I did see that some preservation, inventorying, digitization projects have been approved in the past by the CPA, by the State Department of Revenue, and have been funded. Last year, we sent in 2 applications that were found ineligible, and I'm trying to remember, one was historic district signage, right? So that doesn't really relate.
No.
So I don't think we've tried this before to get CPA funds.
Yes, it's a good place to look right here in town.
Yeah, that would be low hanging fruit in a way. He thought that was a good idea.
So do we need to vote on that right now, this group, or does it have to go back to the bigger group to vote to apply to the CPA? Because I think that's a great idea.
Well, we could create a draft. I'm willing to write up a draft proposal that we could bring to the larger group. But there's some information we need, because to figure out how much money to ask for, we'll probably have to get 3 quotes from different, competitive quotes from different archivists. So we need that information from Tom. Can't just kind of pull them. I don't think we can just pull the number out of our heads. The other thing he said is that it would be really good to do a rough inventory to quantify what's in there, because that's not in the report. And he had some suggestions about what to do for a very fun, kind of very preliminary quantifying. And so that was one of my goals for talking with you guys today, was about an action plan to do that, because we really need that for a CPA proposal.
You need to-
So what I think from talking to him, we need to have a number of linear feet of files. We need to say how many linear feet. And so, you know, a couple people are going to have to go in and measure that. And that means looking at the files and boxes and, you know, basically measuring how deep they are. I would look in the file cabinets to see if they're full or not. Because if they're only half full, you'd measure how much is in there. You wouldn't just measure the dimensions of the cabinet.
Mhm.
So there's that. And then developing a list of all of the other things that are not in files. So the one-offs. So if there's a photo album, if there's some books, things like that, that are not currently in file drawers or file cabinets. And we probably need to have a list of that stuff. So all the kind of one-offs. Leslie may know some of it. The other thing we need to do is we have to have a map of the room and where things are, and we have to label the cabinets and boxes. So we'll probably have to get some removable stickers and go in, so that in addition to saying there's this many linear feet, we can say there's cabinets 1, 2, and 3, or A, B, and C, whatever we want to do. There's boxes, you know, and having a coding for them. And then maybe a sticker with a number to identify the one-offs. So what he suggested was not getting down in the weeds, not getting into the file cabinets and looking at the content at this point. You know, if it's a photo album, not getting into the photo cabinet, the photo album yet, just this kind of very super, you know, this very, this view from
High level.
high level, 30,000 view.
It might be good if you've got a photo album, to say photo album of 20 images or 20 photos rather than just photo album. But yes, that's as far as you'd go.
Don't get into, yeah, because then the next step for the inventorying is a much more detailed description using a spreadsheet. I'd like to, Mary Lou, you have your hand raised. Are you?
Yes. I just had a quick question. Wouldn't some of that, what you're speaking of, already be somewhere for our use? Like, you know, the inventory of what's in there? Like, yeah, shouldn't it be? I mean, as a beginning step, the way I'm following what you're saying is that we're starting from scratch, and maybe we don't really have to start from scratch, because maybe some of that is already somewhere. That's one. Two, when you go in, I would like to be invited. I have never seen all what we are discussing here. So because I'm a visual person, it would help. Do you know what I'm saying? For me to be able to go in and just view. I'm sorry.
Well, that's fine for you to go visit at some point. I'm not comfortable going in with more than one person, given that how cramped the space is, and this is really just a targeted we can arrange a visit for you at some other point.
At any point, really.
Leslie, can you answer that question?
The first question, I'm not aware of any inventory of the closet.
Okay, so you're saying closet, and are you talking about the closet in the old town hall? What
That's
closet?
correct.
Okay, and you, Leslie, the Historic Commission has no inventory, no file of its contents?
No,
So that's what we're
That's the first step.
going to create.
Well, actually, I would say there's two levels here. We want to get a general, very I'm using the word gross. I'm very superficial look so that we can use it for writing grants. Because, if we want to get cost estimates from archivists, they're going to ask questions like quantities of things.
X thousand photos and X hundred documents and whatever.
Maybe that on that granular level, but linear feet to begin with,
Remind us.
and types of things. So not even linear feet of documents and then types of things. So photo albums, books, historical books, plaques, I don't know, things that aren't documents. There might be objects, framed things that have been donated. So at some point, we're going to have to describe all of those things in a database, but we're not there yet. We need to just take this in the preliminary step that would help us to write grants. I'd like to screen share if I can.
Hey, just a quick question.
Yes.
About linear feet, just to give us a sense of what that means. I suppose it's literally measure, right, across how many files.
Along, I think.
The length, is that?
If a file box, you have those cardboard file boxes, and they're about 2 foot long.
Okay.
That's 2 linear feet.
Yeah, I was just curious.
Right. So they're all, we're assuming, that they're standard.
File.
That they're all standard. They're not legal size, that they're letter size. But yes, so it'd be, but again, not just taking the dimensions of the cabinet, it means really kind of opening up the drawer with a tape measure and measuring how many inches of documents are in the drawers. And then adding it all up and then saying, okay, and then also putting a label on that file cabinet so we can reference it later, that's cabinet 1, this is cabinet 2, etc. So let me try to see if I can pull up. I kind of went through what he said and I created a mock spreadsheet that we could use in Excel. Is everybody familiar with Excel?
Yes.
Sure.
Mary Lou, does that,
Yes.
with that? Okay. I'm going to screen share it if I can find it. It's not showing up. Here we go. So what Tom said was that, can you see it?
Yes.
I can't see it. Where'd it go? Okay. What he said is you want to make sure when you're inventorying things that you're able to locate where it is and that you preserve any information that's available about the provenance of the source of the information. So if, for example, there's a file folder that has a note on it that says this was donated in such a year by so-and-so, that you want to make sure that information is transferred into the database or onto a new folder. I guess this is going down the road when we're actually getting into the specific contents of these file drawers, but that basically eventually you would have a code, you'd have the title of things, the dates that it covers. I forget what he defined extent as, but I think it might be
Quantity,
the quantity,
probably.
and then who created it, if you could. So maybe it would be a photo album created by the Bennett family. This would be Bennett family. And then any other content details. And then ideally, some sort of judgment about how high a priority it should be for digitization. So if it's photos, if it's something that looks like it's fragile and starting to decay, that might be a high priority. If it's just a photocopied piece of paper that is, been photocopied in the last 20 years or 30 years and probably isn't rotting at this point, that may be a low priority. And then there'd be a space for comments. So you could have a team of 2 people working, one person digging in the files, and then one person recording the information.
Hmm.
And as you're doing that, if you're going to do this in-house, you probably also have a stack of acid-free archival quality manila folders that you could replace the originals with and mark them with an acid-free pen.
Hmm.
So this is what the kind of spreadsheet would look like. And then somebody would be, sitting there at a table with a laptop recording this stuff.
Yeah, that's great.
So, the question would be, who can go in and do some of this work, measuring and mapping. Let's call it mapping. The measuring and mapping step in this process, I guess. Who wants to do that?
It's something I could do. I'd be happy to do.
Okay. Leslie, would you be willing to do that with Greg?
I'd enjoy doing it with Greg.
Okay, that's great. I think it only takes 2 people, I think.
Well, we can have other teams too as well, right? Don't just have
Yeah.
Leslie. Right?
Well, my guess is this isn't going to take a long time, that this could probably be done in an hour or so.
Really? Okay, that's great.
I don't know. What do you think? Because we're just like measuring files.
Right.
And then,
Right.
Leslie, you would point out,
Yeah, that's fair.
Leslie, I think what you would do is you'd point out all the one-offs and things that aren't in files and
Right.
make a list of them and, put a sticker on them or something that we can locate later. And then I'll transcribe that list into the Excel spreadsheet.
When you say one-offs, do you mean one-ofs?
Yeah, things that just don't fit into any other category,
Yeah,
You
I
could
just never
have-
heard the term one-off. It seems like it should be one-ofs, one of a kind.
I
Right.
think that's what it means. So, for example, one category might be antique textbooks, because I know there's some. So that's one category, right? You don't have to list all of them. If you want to measure how many linear feet of antique textbooks, you could do that. What other things are there, Leslie? I'm just thinking offhand that don't fit into the file drawers.
Well, some of it are working tools like flags and I think there's a laminator over there. The laminator might have ended up here and lost, who knows, in town hall. It might still be there. There's working files, the files for the Gold Cane Award, but then there's an extra sign for the town pound. There's some printing blocks from the 1911 or 1961 community book. There's, like you say, there's a variety of things. Some things probably should be discarded, but how is that decision made? Like, there was a period of time when Gertrude Thayer and Veronica Moulton used to go out digging in the stone walls behind Gertrude's house, and they'd bring me spoons and pieces of pottery and stuff and say, oh, this is for the historical commission. Now, it's not. I don't know what to do with stuff like that.
So that could be, maybe what we'll need to do is put all those things in one box and call them artifacts.
Yeah.
May I say something?
Yeah.
And maybe if ever the new library goes in place, this one that's standing there could be a museum like they did in Leverett. And then all these beautiful pieces that people are finding could go in there. Just an idea.
Okay.
I think, yeah, there would be more functional things for a historical space at the library than these things that I'm talking about, but I hear your point, Mary
So
Lou.
kind of what you want to do is group things that are similar to each other that you can lump together. Like if there's a whole bunch of junk, I don't want to call it junk, but artifacts that were donated that are when dug out of the ground or found in people's midden piles or whatever in their properties. Okay, that would be one thing. If there's framed documents and things that like were donated, like Michael Pills donated a bunch of stuff, you know, those framed documents could be another category, and just like count of them. We don't have to get into explaining what they are. We don't have to go down to that level.
Yes. Right.
And
At some-
where they are and where
at-
they are.
At
So
some
what-
point, yeah, at some point, this, I mean, the labels could go under title, maybe. I mean, but at some point, there may be some consolidation of categories since,
Yes.
I mean, this is an empirical, this is like a, you know, we're just rifling through this thing.
Right, yeah, this is the first pass.
Yeah,
And if you look at the report, I believe, and maybe it isn't in the report, maybe I read it somewhere else, but there are instructions for what you do when you get down into the inventorying process and you decide something can be discarded. So, you know, you may get to a point where you've digitized something, or you find duplicates of something, or you, after some consideration and the commission reviews something, you may say a pile of stuff just isn't that significant and isn't worth preserving. You know, that would be a judgment, but we would make that judgment down the line. But so I think there is a process we could go through if there are things need to be cleaned out and got rid of. But not now. We don't want to throw anything away now. We want to first see what we've got. Okay, so Greg and Leslie, do you guys kind of have an idea of what to do?
Yes.
Photos might be good, or if you even want to draw a little map of the room
Yeah, we
with
could do that.
with like what direction. So if you're referring to the south wall or the east wall,
Hmm.
that might be a little helpful if somebody else wants to go in and locate it. And do you want to pick up some stickers to put on these file cabinets or something to label them?
They're not particularly important stickers. They're not acid free or anything like that. They're just because they're going
No,
on.
no, just don't put them on too firmly. Just they can, you know, just
Different way.
lightly going on so we can remove it later. But
Yeah, we'll go into Hastings and see what they've got.
that'd be great. So, because that will help us, having this information will then help us to talk to a consultants, and also if I want to try to,
Then talk to the CPA.
yeah. Can you guys hold on for a second? I gotta take this call. I don't know how to mute myself. Hang on.
Greg, I think Hastings probably has an account with Shutesbury so that you wouldn't have to pay the tax.
That's good. Yes.
Because the town cannot reimburse for tax.
Right. And if they've got an account, can I just say charge it to Shutesbury Town Hall?
Hopefully, I don't know. I haven't used it in a couple of years, so I
Yeah.
don't know for sure, but hopefully that would be good. And
Well,
make
that's-
sure to designate historical commission so that
Yes.
gets to the right department.
Okay, all right, so I think what the other thing I will do is I will reach out to Alan Hansen about the CPA and just try to get a read from him about what, you know, I think he's willing to give some guidance about how to
Criteria.
application to make sure it meets their criteria. And I'll probably let Joan Hansen know as well. Just so the friends of the Historical Commission know. I also saw there were some grants that were referred to in the archivist report. There was one that was a preservation grant, and unfortunately, when I looked at it, it didn't look like we could apply for it. It said said government agencies weren't eligible, but 501c3s were. And it was for preservation activities, a small grants up to $5,000. And Tom had mentioned it, if you were going to do, or maybe it's in the report saying, if you want to do something in-house and you need to buy equipment, for example, and supplies, that this would be necessary. This could be a resource.
And we're not 501c3, correct?
No, but the friends
other
of the
friends?
the
Yeah.
friends aren't they, Leslie?
Yes,
So that's where I was thinking, if we were to work in conjunction with them, possibly,
Mhm. That would
that
make
might be a
sense.
way to get equipment. I'm also wondering, Leslie, like the file cabinets that are in there, how many, do you know how many there are, how big they are?
there's one 4-drawer and there's one 2-drawer. That's it.
Okay, and are they locking?
Not at the moment. In fact, if you do lock them, you'll never get back in.
Right. So, and then there's boxes, right?
That's correct.
Are they
There's-
archival quality boxes?
Many are.
Okay.
There's 2 plastic tub type boxes. There's always the concern of rodents in that building.
Mhm.
Is
plastic.
there some machine to, to affect the air quality? Is there like a dehumidifier or something like that?
The particular room that was assigned for historical commission use is very tiny. There is nothing in that. The overall town hall, the town clerks have been responsible for dehumidification over the years. And the building itself is about as good as you're gonna get with, it's not a tight building to begin with. The
Right.
closet, I've never had any trouble with mold. The biggest problem I've ever had is rodents.
Okay, so, but is there a machine going, a dehumidifier going in that building?
Yeah, that the town clerks take care of that.
They
Okay,
have it
so-
in the vault. Don't they have it in the vault?
I'm sorry?
Leslie, don't they have some sort of climate controls for the vault?
The vault is climate controlled with a mini split situation, and the main room, I believe, still runs on just a regular dehumidifier.
So,
From that,
so I just have a question all about that. How is that, so there is electricity in the building, right? There has to be.
correct.
Yeah, so how is that tab? Who picks up that tab? Is that on the historical commission's tab? For the
No, I
electric
believe
bill?
that it's part of the overall municipal utility.
I
um,
see.
Bill.
Okay, and then that
We
leads
used
me
to store our things in a room in this building, and when
Right.
storage space got tight, we were moved over there to a room over there.
kicked out.
No, it made more sense because that is the historic building and it has
Correct.
many things that I don't know if they're historical commission or town, who would categorize some of the things.
Yeah, so about back to the bill for the electric output, is the solar in the backyard? Where is that going? Does that pay for this electric use?
I think that would be a question for Becky Torres. I do
Sure.
not know the answer.
Thank you.
I think it does. I think that the solar is for offsetting the electrical bill for both buildings. Is what my recollection. But it doesn't pay for all of it. It pays for a portion. Okay, but that's neither here nor there for us. Okay. So Leslie, have you noticed mouse damage in the file drawers?
No, in previous falls, I have been very conscientious about setting traps, and as many as I'd set, they would get filled and I'd empty them. Until this meeting today, I kind of got discouraged when Grace told me that I needed permission from her to go into the town hall and into the closet. I stopped going in.
Uh-oh.
So I haven't been in this fall, and
Are these traps catching them dead?
yes,
Okay, so if there's electricity in there, there must be some kinds of outlets. I would personally donate these little things. I see them. You can plug in the outlet and they emit this high pitch noise.
yeah,
that
my
will-
experience with them is they're not that effective. You might have better experience than me.
No, I have not used them. I have not even purchased them. I go by, I'm a consumer who goes by what they
Same.
advertise on the products. But I would really feel better about using something like that, number one. Number two, mice, once they have moved in, make big damage. I have a piece of furniture on my porch and boy, we had to rehome them.
Yeah, I mean, something like that's worth considering, but probably as well as traps in case the electric thing doesn't work.
Yeah, well,
And a little off target for what we're trying to do right now.
Yeah,
Right.
I don't,
When we
so,
go in, we will understand if there's problem this year.
right, okay, but I don't think
I
it's.
don't
off
really
target
understand why
because
we need. I
We're
don't really
talking about preserving material that's, this is all part of preserving the material. And
Yeah.
I'm absolutely against killing creatures. So thank you.
Leslie, I'm a little, are you feeling like that Grace is not allowing you to come into the building?
No, not at all. It just discouraged. I previously felt fully comfortable just going in and out whenever I drove by, that it was convenient to drop things off, pick things up. And Grace is always, as soon as I say, Grace, I need to go there, she always says, all right, go ahead. But I don't know how this rule came about, but I'm just being very respectful because I'm not on the commission and I really don't need to go in there. And I haven't had any big inquiries recently either, so
Okay.
everything's
Well,
just on hold.
Yeah, I mean, I think you could just send, throw her an email saying, I'm going to be in there today, and that should be sufficient.
You're right.
So I'm sorry, Leslie.
And I think, I don't know, Leslie, that you've been really the only curator so
Hmm.
far. I mean, that,
Well, in your time, that's just, if you go back through the 70s, 80s, there's about a 10-year period when I was working down in Amherst when I wasn't even on the commission, I don't think. But more recently, then when I became town clerk, I would get inquiries. I was on the commission and over a period of time, you're correct, I did become the person most familiar with it. And I was the person going through records in the course of my daily work and finding things and saying, oh, this would be very nice to have with this category, or, a town meeting vote that fits in with the file on the old town hall or something, So I did a lot of adding.
So one of the
to the
things,
categories.
right, we want to, my hope with all of this, Leslie, I'm going to stop screen sharing, is that, we get this stuff organized while you're here helping us, because, 30 years from now, it'll be other people on this historical commission.
Correct. I agree with you.
And,
But I'm just saying it's not, it hasn't been me alone over the years. It has been many people.
yeah,
And
I just-
everybody had their own system of organizing. So in addition to categories, there's categories from the 70s, categories from the 80s, categories that different
Right.
people.
Well, hopefully
right.
It's hopefully
So,
not-
and it may be that stuff can be consolidated in a way or organized in one unitary file, but that's
Right.
down the road. Excuse me. One thing we need to figure out a home for is that we have received all of the archaeological files from MHC. I don't know if you guys remember
Excuse me for a moment.
earlier this year, we voted on an archaeological policy, and I wrote to MHC and they sent me this big file.
I remember, but I don't remember what was on it except for a few buildings maybe, and
No, this is a confidential file that you've never seen.
oh, I've never seen it. Oh, no, that's
Just
curious.
came.
Now,
I've
when
never
you
seen
say
it.
file, are you saying digital or are you saying
No,
paper?
I mean a big folder came in the mail with copies of confidential, non-public archaeological studies
That you're housing at your home?
that I have right now in a locked cabinet in my home, but needs to find a permanent home.
I understand.
I have a locking cabinet in my house because I have some old private practice clinical files that are not old enough for me to discard from when I was in private practice. And so it's a pretty
So
secure.
maybe the historical commission should be looking at replacing one of the file cabinets with a new locking
Yeah,
cabinet.
I was even thinking of donating my cat, in the next year, I think I can get rid of that file. I have to keep those records for a certain number of years, but I'm kind of at the tail end. And the file is in good condition. I have the keys for it. So it's a 2-drawer locking file. Maybe I can donate it.
Yeah, or we could purchase
Mary Lou,
one
are
just
you-
like it.
Mary Lou, you have
And
your
the-
hand raised?
Yes, I had a couple of questions of Leslie. You said that you haven't received inquiries recently, and if you do, are you directing them to Miriam or Henry? That's number one. Number two, you said something about the 70s, 80s, that you were not the curator, but somebody did, curate, keep record of. Do we today have access to that material?
That's a lot of, let's start with the first question. Which was the first question? Say it again.
The first question was like, you were saying something about you have not gotten inquiries. I'm not quite sure what that means. Like, people have not approached you asking, oh, my father's grandfather used to live in Shutesbury, and like that, right?
Okay, so how the system worked is if the historical commission got a question that they didn't have a good answer to, they would refer that I might know something more about it, and I would go
Exactly.
look. And otherwise, if someone just caught me on the street and said, hey, do you know about such and such? And I would say to the historical commission, I'm going into the closet because I think I have a file on this and this, and that would be how it would work.
Exactly. So how is that working today? People are not approaching you as an associate member, and if they would be, do you refer it to Miriam or Henry?
I would if I got any, people haven't asked me recently, and the
Okay,
historical commission hasn't asked me, so maybe it's just a dry spell, I don't know.
okay. And then that material from the 70s and 80s, when there was somebody else, curating, keeping record of the material that we're discussing today, does Miriam or Henry or the historical commission as a whole have those records?
Everything is in this one small room, Mary Lou. And
Right,
it's
so
not
would
one
we-
particular curator. That's a
Uh-huh.
kind of new term that's being introduced. It's always been a group, a commission, who have
Right,
various people have taken on different roles and interests over the
Right.
years.
right. So my question is, do we today in 2021 have access to all that information or
It is
records?
all in the same, we always had a closet that we worked with, and all the materials are in that
So
closet.
any
Right.
previous archiving, not archiving, but cataloging, if there is any, it'll be in that room.
So
That's
are you
correct.
familiar with it, Greg? would you know how to get in there and just find it?
Oh, no, no.
That's what we're going to
Mary
be
Lou,
doing.
that's what we're trying to work on here. We have the keys to the closet, but we
Right.
need to organize it and catalog it, and that's
Right.
what we're talking about.
Right, I realize that.
And we might
I'm
find,
just curious, Mary Lou, what are you trying to
Oh,
make
just
sure
make it-
about?
Yeah, just to make it easier, like if there's something already there, then let us use that in this project. You know what I mean? If there's
Sure.
something that's already been laid, why, you know, look for the bricks to relay it? Like
yeah,
that.
No,
we
there
might
is
just,
no inventory.
Ah,
There's no inventory. That's why we're doing this.
whoa. Okay.
So,
I'll try and put my hand down. Sorry.
so anyway, so everybody understand what I've said about the archaeological records?
Mhm.
The other thing that came in recently, which was interesting, was about 6 months ago, maybe, there was a researcher who had contacted our inbox asking about information about town history. I may have put Leslie in touch with him. And I directed him to our website as well. And he got back to us and shared a published article that he wrote, which is fascinating. He's a psychologist, a researcher, an academician, and he wrote a report about a journal article about a woman eugenics researcher who did the eugenics research in Shutesbury of the Pratt family, and who went on to become a famous peace activist and feminist.
Hmm.
And his description of her work with the Pratt family is just mesmerizing. I thought I'll send everybody the report.
love to see it.
And I got his permission to put it up on our website. I mean, you know, you would think offhand, oh God, we don't want to hear about this dark history of eugenics movement, but the eugenics movement. But you know, this woman
History.
was actually a little bit of a rebel.
Yeah, I heard
it
about it.
paints a very colorful picture of life in Shutesbury.
I heard about this.
Apparently, a lot of promiscuity
Yeah.
and women having children by people they were not married to.
Mm.
Hmm.
So hopefully they were having fun and not being raped, but
People were just young. They didn't live long, except there's a guy who actually lived to be almost 100, maybe more years.
111, I think. Yes.
What-
Frame.
14 years, I thought.
Was it?
114 years.
Well, it was a fun read. I'll send it to you.
Good.
Okey doke.
Right.
Anything more we got to cover on this? We got a plan. Greg and Leslie, you'll just go in and do your thing, and
We'll
Grace will give you
communicate,
permission.
Leslie, about a time. Leslie and I will communicate. Leslie and I will pick a time that we're both available to do that.
Yeah. I'm glad to do that.
That'll be fun. Good.
If you want to call me later, I'm going to take a call for assessors now.
Sure.
If
What
that's
number?
okay.
What number should I call?
To 413-285-4080.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. I'm going to go. Bye-bye. Thank
Bye.
you, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Oh, you can read my mind.
You might want to just mute her.
Okay, she's off. All right. So we should set up a plan for meeting again, but let's report back at the regular historical commission meeting next week.
Next week. Yes. The
Anything more?
Bennett family must have been prominent in this. The example used in the report, they are from Shutesbury, is that correct?
Yeah, they owned the property that became the State Beach
Ah, right,
Hotel, and
right. There's a building down there as well.
I believe a descendant of the Bennett family built the house that I live in. I bought my house from Dick Bennett.
Hmm.
I'm not going to say anything about the quality of he built the house himself. I'm not gonna say anything about his carpentry skills, but I will say we found a lot of archaeology in the backyard, including a lot of bullets and beer cans.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
At one time, Miriam, way back when I was an associate, one of the descendants came to us to ask, that was before the Carroll House, that big, beautiful building went up for state ownership or whatever, asking, do you remember that? A young man asking for our help in preserving it, which I think would have been a beautiful project.
yeah, he needed like $1 million. He needed like $1 million.
Exactly. Every time I ride by, I say, if I had $1 million, that building it's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Sadly,
Apparently there was a box in that house when it was sold to the state that contains some Native American artifacts that had been collected around the lake.
who's got the box?
It disappeared. It was stolen.
It was stolen?
It disappeared. Maybe it was lost. Maybe it was thrown away.
Oh my
Maybe somebody thought it
God.
was garbage and threw it away. I don't want to say stolen because I don't know that it was stolen, but
It's missing.
it's
Gone
gone.
astray.
It went away. It's no longer here with us.
That's awful.
Yeah, it's too bad. All right.
I think
You adjourn, or how does that go?
Okay, so I'll make a motion to adjourn at 11 o'clock, 10:56. Do we have a
Sounds
second?
great.
second motion.
Okay. Mary Lou,
Aye.
Greg,
Aye.
Henry,
Yes.
Miriam. Aye, so. Okay, all right, you guys, thanks for meeting.
Good
Like you
day.
both. Thanks for having us. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.